Recording in progress.
Namo Vishnu Padayakasya Vastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namani Namaste Saraswata Deve Gauravani Pacharani Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachai Duzatani Srila Prabhupada Ki. Today we will discuss Canto 2, Chapter 10, verses 10 to 18. In these verses, the Lord's pastimes of creation is further described. So we will begin with text 10. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Purusandam Vinirpitya Yada Sasa Vinirgata Atmanonyam Atmano yanam vachan, Atmano yanam amvichan, Aposrasik chuchi. Translation by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. After separating the different universes, the gigantic universal form of the Lord Mahavishnu, which came out of the causal ocean, the place of appearance for the first Purush avatar, entered into each of the separate universes, desiring to lie on the created transcendental water, Garbhodaka. Can someone read the first part of the purport until just after the translation of the first quoted verse, Maya Dakshina Prakriti?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Could I read?
Sure.
Thank you. After analysis of the living entities and the Supreme Lord, Paramatma, the independent source of all other living beings, Srila Sukadeva Goswami is now presenting the prime necessity for devotional service to the Lord, which is the only occupational business for all living entities. The Supreme Lord Shri Krishna and his plenary portions and extensions of plenary portions are non-different from one another, and thus the supreme independence is in each and every one of them. In order to prove this, Shukadeva Goswami, as promised to King Parikshit, describes herein the independence of the Purusha avatar, personality of Godhead, even in the sphere of material creation. Such activities of the Lord are also transcendental, and therefore they are also lila, or pastimes, of the Absolute Lord. Such pastimes of the Lord are very conducive to the hearers for self-realization in the field of devotional service. Some may argue, then why not relish the transcendental lila of the Lord as exhibited in the land of Mathura and Vrindavan, which are sweeter than anything in the world? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur replies that the pastimes of the Lord in Vrindavan are meant to be relished by advanced devotees of the Lord. Neophyte devotees will misunderstand such supreme transcendental activities of the Lord, and therefore the Lord's pastimes in the material sphere related to creation, maintenance, and destruction are verily relishable by the Prakrita, or mundane devotees of the Lord. As the yoga system mainly based on bodily exercises is meant for the person who is too much attached to the bodily conception of existence, similarly, the Lord's pastimes related to the creation and destruction of the material world are for those who are too materially attached. For such mundane creatures, the functions of the body and the functions of the cosmic world through physical laws in relationship with the Lord are also therefore included in understanding of the lawmaker, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The scientists explain the material functions by so many technological terms of material law, but such blind scientists forget the lawmaker. The Srimad Bhagavatam points out the lawmaker. One should not be amazed by the mechanical arrangement of the complicated engine or dynamo, but one should praise the engine who creates such a wonderful working machine. That is the difference between the devotee and the non-devotee. Devotees are always full with praising the Lord, who directs the physical laws. In the Bhagavad Gita 9.10, the direction of the Lord upon the material nature is described as follows. Do I go on or is it okay?
Yeah, just read Bhagavad Gita verse and translation.
Okay. Maya kyaksena prakriti suyate charam hetunanena kunteya jagat viparivartate. The material nature, full of physical laws, is one of my different energies. Therefore, it is neither independent nor blind, because I am transcendently all-powerful. Simply by my glancing over material nature, the physical laws of nature work so wonderfully. The actions and reactions of the physical laws work on that account, and thus the material world is created, maintained, and annihilated again and again.
Thank you. Can someone read the second part? Starting with man with a poor fund of knowledge.
Men with a poor fund of knowledge, however, become astonished by studying the physical laws, both within the construction of the individual body and within the cosmic manifestation, and foolishly they decry the existence of God, taking it for granted that the physical laws are independent without any metaphysical control. The Bhagavad Gita 9.11 replies to this foolishness in the following words: Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanam ashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. The foolish men, mudha, do not know the personality of Godhead in his eternal form of bliss and knowledge. The foolish man thinks of the transcendental body of the Lord as something like his own, and therefore he cannot think of the unlimited controlling power of the Lord, who is not visible in the acting of the physical laws. The Lord is, however, visible to the naked eyes of people in general when he descends himself by his own personal potency. Lord Krishna incarnated himself as he is and played very wonderful parts as the Lord himself, and the Bhagavad Gita concerns such wonderful actions and knowledge. Yet foolish men will not accept Lord Krishna as the Supreme Lord. Generally, they consider the infinitesimal and infinite features of the Lord because they themselves are unable to become either the infinitesimal or the infinite. But one should know that the infinite and infinitesimal sizes of the Lord are not his highest glories. The most wonderful manifestation of the Lord's power is exhibited when the infinite Lord becomes visible to our eyes as one of us. Yet his activities are different from those of the finite.
So, Shyamananda Prabhu, did you read till the end of the purport? Yeah. Okay, you are muted, but thank you. So, the gross material world is situated on the subtle. So Brahma, who will start his secondary creation, is Visarga. He has only the ability to create because his creation is based on the Iran Maya, the universal form of the Lord, the subtle universal form which is created here by Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. So it's like a blueprint that he gets. If you want to build, you cannot build without a blueprint. Then the builder cannot build. So this is what the Purusha Sukta prayers say in chapter 6, which we heard before. The universal form comes from Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, this Virat Rupa. So in previous verses we heard about the interdependence between the Adhyatmic, Adidevik, Adibhautik. You remember? Yeah, interdependent. And yes, who made them interdependent is the Supreme Independent who made it. And now Sukadev Goswami has promised to King Parikshit, describes here in the independence of the Purusha avatar, the personality of Godhead. So even that independence is there in the material creation, because there is no cause in the material creation that is independent from his desire. So the activities of the Purusha avatars are also transcendental and are also lila, or pastimes of the Absolute Lord. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments here. So, and he says, and Srila Prabhupada refers to this commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his purport. And he says, the pastimes of the Lord in Vrindavan are meant to be relished by advanced devotees of the Lord. So it's indicated here, we must first hear the first 9 cantos before going to the 10th cantos, to this intimate pastimes of the Lord. Of course, from today, at least here in Montreal, is the first day of Kartik. They have just performed the Damodar prayers. This Damodar Lila is a very sweet pastime of the Lord. But yes, only advanced devotees really can appreciate these pastimes. Neophyte devotees, they will misunderstand such supreme transcendental activities of the Lord, and therefore the Lord pastime in the material sphere related to the creation, maintenance and destruction are very relishable by the prakriti or mundane devotees of the Lord. They are those who are too materially attached. It's very good for them, because if they hear these pastimes of the creation, they will understand that everything comes from Krishna, and Krishna is in everything. They will really see to see him everywhere. And because Krishna is everywhere, but we have disconnected our consciousness, and that's the issue. We have to reconnect our consciousness, and then our consciousness will become purified, and then we will see the Lord everywhere. We have the verse in Bhagavad Gita, Tat vinapana paraprasna sevya upadeksham tetejam jnanyam tattva darshara. So one should approach the spiritual master, inquire from him, and serve him submissively. dat Vinapata Paripatna, Pariprashna Sevna, Upateksateham, Ghana Stattvadakshana. Dan Gat van Napunarmam, Evan Yasya Sipandeva, Yena Bhute Ashishani, Dakshati Admati Atomati. And what happens then? The spiritual master instructs you, read the Bhagavatam, hear the pastimes of the Lord. And then we held start to see that Krishna is everywhere and everything is in Krishna. Everything is connected with Krishna. So the Prakriti Bhakta must go through this process first to understand who Krishna is. And then one will realize, oh, I'm Krishna's servant, I'm a part and parcel. And then one can develop his relationship with Krishna, or reveal again, or uncover one's relationship with Krishna. So the Srimad Bhagavatam points out to the lawmaker. One should not be amazed by the mechanical arrangement of the complicated engine or dynamo, but one should praise the engineer who creates such a wonderful machine. So that is just the point that when I went to the high school, then in the lesson of chemics you see many formulas and this combination and that combination. But I asked my teacher, but who arranged for this? That if you combine this with that it gives this. Who made this? And he told me, this is beyond the sphere of my subject matter to teach. He said, yes, and it's true. But it may be beyond the subject matter, but it remains an essential question that all these intelligent arrangements behind this creation, from where is this intelligence coming from? And that's a difference between a non-devotee and a devotee. A devotee knows where all this comes from. So the purpose of this section is to help to describe the asraya, the summum bonum, the shelter of everything. He's our shelter. And it said, we heard two verses, 9-10, Maya Dakshana Prakriti, Chittachet Chatracharam, and 9-11. 9-11, Avachanti Mamuda. So men with a poor fund of knowledge, however, become astonished by studying the physical laws, both within the construction of the individual body and within the cosmic manifestation, and foolishly they decry the existence of God, taking it for granted that the physical laws are independent, without any metaphysical control. So we will have questions at the end. It will be quite a short class today, Nilamaniko, and we'll have time for questions at the end. So one should know that the infinite and the infinitesimal sizes of the Lord are not his highest glories. The most wonderful manifestation of the Lord's power is exhibited when the infinite Lord becomes visible to our eyes as one of us. So that's the most wonderful, the appearance of Lord Krishna 5,000 years ago. Now we will read text 11, and there is no purport. The Supreme Lord Person is not impersonal, and therefore is distinctly a Nara person. Therefore, the transcendental water created from the Supreme Nara is known as Nara. And because he lies down on that water, he is known as Narayan. So the Supreme Person is not impersonal. We are persons. Why can the Lord not be a person? It's just, we limit the Lord, and that Doesn't make sense. Therefore, the transcendental water created from the supreme Nara is known as Nara. And because he lies down, the water is known as Narayan. So that's the source of, or explanation of Narayan. Text 12. One should definitely know that all material ingredients, activities, time and modes, and the living entities who are meant to enjoy them, all exist by His mercy only. And as soon as He does not care for them, everything becomes non-existent. We have a purport here. If someone wants to read this purport, please.
Can I read? Hare Krishna. The living entities are the enjoyers of the material ingredients, time, modes, etc., because they want to lord it over the material nature. The Lord is the supreme enjoyer, and the living entities are meant to assist the Lord in His enjoyment and thus participate in the transcendental enjoyment of everyone. The enjoyer and the enjoyed both participate in enjoyment, but deluded by the illusory energy, the living entities want to become the enjoyer like the Lord, although they are not meant for such enjoyment. The jivas, the living entities, are mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita as the Lord's superior nature or paraprakriti, and so also it is mentioned in the Vishnu Purana. Therefore, the living entities are never the Purushas or the factual enjoyers. As such, the spirit of enjoyment by the living entity in the material world is false. In the spiritual world, the living entities are pure in nature, and therefore they are associates in the enjoyment of the Supreme Lord. In the material world, the spirit of enjoyment of the living entities by dint of their own actions, karma, gradually fades by the laws of nature, and thus the illusory energy dictates in the ears of the conditioned souls that they should become one with the Lord. This is the last snare of the illusory energy. When the last illusion is also cleared off by the mercy of the Lord, the living entity again becomes reinstated in his original position and thus becomes actually liberated. For this attainment of liberation from the material clutches, the Lord creates the material world, maintains it for some time, 1,000 years of His measurement, as stated in the previous verse, and then again annihilates it by His will. The living entities are therefore completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord, and all their so-called enjoyments by scientific improvement are crushed into dust when the Lord desires.
Thank you. So the Lord is the supreme enjoyer, and the living entities are meant to assist the Lord in His enjoyment, and thus participate in His transcendental enjoyment, a transcendental enjoyment of everyone. Because we become servants of the Lord, we serve Krishna for His enjoyment, because His enjoyment is shared with the servant, the servants. Yeah, so the enjoyer and the enjoyed both participate in the enjoyment. That so in the material world, one does not serve anyone. That unless one gets profit. So one thinks, yes, there will be no profit in serving the Lord. But when one engages in devotional service, one becomes purified, one becomes satisfied first. That's the first stage. In Bhagavad Gita 10.9 in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that in the beginning of devotional service, one derives satisfaction from the service itself. But in the higher stage of devotional service, one enjoys by experience love of God. So different levels, but all enjoyment. That the spirit of enjoyment in the living entity, in the material world, is false, because there is no enjoyment. That we think eating is enjoyment, but it's just getting rid of the pain. That in the spiritual world, the living entities are pure in nature, and therefore they are associates in the enjoyment of the Lord, the Supreme Lord. So one must be pure to experience that enjoyment. So the Lord creates the material world, maintains it for some time, and then again annihilates it by His will. And why? For the liberation of the conditioned soul from the material clutches. So this is important information. Text 13. That I read also the Sanskrit. Eko nanat from amvicham yoga talpat samutita vichinam iranmayam deva mayaya vishat shijat trida. The Lord, while lying on his bed of mystic slumber, generates a seminal symbol, golden in hue, through his external energy, out of his desire to manifest varieties of living entities from himself alone. So I will read the purport. So in Bhagavad-Gita, the creation and annihilation of the material world are stated as follows. That's Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 9, 7, 8. Sarva bhutani kantya prakritam yanti mamikam kalpaksai punastani kalpada vritichamyaham prakritim svamavastabhya vrichami puna puna punakranamidam krishnam avasam prakrite vasat. At the end of each millennium, the creative forces, namely the material nature and living entities who struggle in the material nature, are all merged together into the transcendental body of the Lord. And again, when the Lord desires to manifest them, all of them are again displayed by the Lord. Therefore, the material nature is working under the control of the Lord. All manifestations under the agency of material nature and under the control of the Lord are thus repeatedly created and annihilated by the will of the Lord. Therefore, before the creation or manifestation of the material cosmic world, the Lord exists as total energy, Maha Samasti. So these terms are important. You may need to know them. 3 terms, Maha Samasti, Samasti, and Vyasti. So Maha Samasti is the total energy. And thus, desiring himself to be diffused in many, he expands further into the multi-total energy, samasti, multi-total. So there come different energies, and together they are the multi-total energy. He further expands himself into individuals in 3 dimensions named Adhyatmik, Adideva, Adibhautik, as explained before, and that's Vyasti. He divides himself, expands himself in these 3 dimensions, Vyasti. So Maha Samasti, the total energy. The Lord is everything. And multi-total energy, Samasti. Different energies. We have the mode of ignorance, the mode of passion, the mode of goodness. These is one division, but we have also external energy, internal energy, marginal energy. That's all different energies, but is a multi-total energy. And Vyasti, Adhyatmik, Adidevik, Adibhautik. As such, the whole creation and the creative energies are non-different and different simultaneously. Because everything is an emanation from him, the Mahavishnu or the Mahasamasti, that nothing of the cosmic energies is different from him. But all such expanded energies have specific functions and display as designed by the Lord, and therefore they are simultaneously different from the Lord, because they are designed by the Lord, they're working under the control of the Lord. Therefore they are also different. Because we heard in the previous chapter, the Bhagavatam Sattva Shloka, Krishna says, before the creation I was only there, nothing exists. And then for me comes a creation, and then I wind it up, and afterwards only me are there. So Krishna is everything. Everything must come from Krishna, and everything goes back in Krishna. So it's all Krishna. The living entities are so similar energy, marginal potency of the Lord, and thus they are simultaneously one and different from Him. So the energetic and the energy are different. At the stage of non-manifestation, the living entities remain potent in the Lord. And when they are loose in the cosmic manifestation, they are exhibited differently in terms of these different desires under the modes of nature. Such differential manifestation of living energies are conditional states of a living entity. The liberated living entities, however, in the Sanatan eternal manifestation are unconditionally surrendered souls, and therefore they are not subject to the conditions of creation and annihilation. So we are in the wrong place. So this creation takes place by the glance of the Lord from His bedstead of mystic slumber, and thus all the universes and the Lord of the universe, Brahma, are again and again manifested and annihilated. Now text 14. Just here, for me, how the potency of His Lordship divides into three, called the controlling deities, the controlling entities, and the material bodies in the matter mentioned above. From the sky, situated within the transcendental body of the manifesting Maya Vishnu, sensory energy, mental forms, and bodily strength are well generated, as well as the sum total of the fountainhead of the total living force. As the followers of a king follow their lord, similarly, when the total energy is in motion, all living entities move, and when the total energy stops endeavoring, all living entities stop sensual activities. I read a short purport. The individual living entities are completely dependent on the total energy of the Supreme Purusa. No one has independent existence, just as no electric lamp has independent effulgence. Each and every electrical instrument depends fully on the total powerhouse. The total powerhouse depends on the reservoir of water for generating electricity. Water depends on the clouds depend on the sun depends on the creation, and the creation depends on the movement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of all causes. So it shows again, no one has independent existence. Just as an electric lamp has no independent effulgence, it depends fully on the control of the powerhouse. So the Supreme Lord is the power, is the cause of all causes. So it means even we have some independence, but even our independence is depending on Krishna giving it to us. Even that is depending on Him. So again, the body, this is mentioned here, the body is a covering of the poor conditioned soul who made a wrong choice. We made a wrong choice. Then text 17. The living force being agitated by the Virat Purush generated hunger and thirst, and when he desired to drink and eat, the mouth opened. Someone can read the purport, please?
I can read.
Please do. Yeah.
The process by which all living beings in the womb of the mother develop their sense organs and sense perceptions appears to follow the same principles in the case of the Virat group, the sum total of all living entities. Therefore, the supreme cause of all generation is not impersonal or without desire. The desires of all kinds of sense perception and sense organs exist in the Supreme, and thus they take place in the individual persons. This desire is the nature of the Supreme Living Being, the Absolute Truth. Because he has the sum total of all mouths, the individual living entities have mouths, similarly with all other senses and sense organs. Here the mouth is a symbolic representation of all sense organs, but the same principles apply to the others also.
So this shows again that the supreme cause of generation is not impersonal or without desire. The desires for all kinds of sense perception and sense organs exist in the Supreme. So he must be a person because he desires. And thus they take place in the individual person because he can desire, we can also desire. So this desire is the nature of the Supreme Living Being, the Absolute Truth. Because he has the sum total of all mouths, the individual living entities have mouths, therefore we have mouths. Here the mouth is a symbolic representation of all sense organs, for the same principle applies to others also. Now we have the last verse. From the mouth the palate became manifested, and thereupon the tongue was also generated. After this all the different tastes came into existence, so that the tongue can relish. Someone can read the purport?
Hare Krishna. This gradual process of evolution suggests the explanation of the controlling deities, Adidaiva, because Varuna is the controlling deity for all relishable juices. Therefore, the mouth becomes the resting place for the tongue, which tastes all the different juices of which the controlling deity is Varuna. This suggests, therefore, that Varuna was also generated along with the development of the tongue. The tongue and the palate, being instrumental, are adibhutam, or forms of matter, but the functioning deity, who is a living entity, is the Adidaiva, whereas the person undergoing the function is Adhyatma. Thus, the three categories are also explained as to their birth after the opening of the mouth of the Virat Purusha. The four principles mentioned in this verse serve to explain the three main principles, namely Adhyatma, Adidaiva, Adibhutam, as explained before.
Yeah. So the mouth becomes the resting place for the tongue, which tastes all different juices, of which controlling deity is Varuna. This suggests that Varuna was also generated along with the development of the tongue. So if we have the tongue and we have the palate, that's instrumental, that is adibhutam, forms of matter. The tongue and the palate is matter. And the functioning deity who controls this, Varuna, he's the Adidaiva. He's also a living entity. He's a living entity. Adibhutam is matter. Adideva is a living entity. But then you have Adhyatma. The Adhyatmic person is the soul within, which is situated within the Adibhautic is situated in that, is present in matter. And he's undergoing the control. So here we have these three again. So this was the section of today. We have now some time for discussion. Any questions, comments, please? Yeah, I think Nilamani Prabhu, yes, please.
Yes, Maharaj. In reference to text 10, we actually have a question bank which says, explain the purpose of Sukadeva Goswami. Explain the purpose of Sukadeva Goswami explain Sukadeva Goswami's purpose in explaining the activities of the Purusha. In text 10 to 13. So, I've been reading through the purport trying to express what's Sukadeva Goswami's intent here in talking about the different Purushas.
Yeah. But the first thing I would say is, it said before that the Supreme Lord is the only independent. And in these verses, now, he describes how the Lord is independent, that, in his form as a Purusha avatars, how he's completely independent. And that is what he's demonstrating here, that we are under control. We are not independent, because we are, the Lord is, unlimited. We are limited, we are under his control. He controls the Adhyatmic, the Adidevic, and the Adibaudic. We get our independence, but even we are depending on Krishna, giving us this independence. So no one has independent existence. That is, and therefore we should surrender to the Asraya, to the Supreme Lord. So I would say that is the essence of why Goswami says that he was speaking before about two things. He was speaking about Asraya, and all the other topics are meant to bring us to the Asraya. And the other thing he said mainly is that yes, the Asraya is independent. And then how is he independent? And how are we under control and we are also not independent? That's then described in these verses. Yes, that's the main thing, I would say. The second point is that, yes, that, and Srila Prabhupada writes that also in the purport, yes, we must understand there is a lawmaker, and we must first understand this before trying to relishing the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Because we have first to understand the position of the Lord. Otherwise we cannot establish our relationship properly if we don't understand this deeply. So I would say these are the main reasons why Sukadeva Goswami presents this. Does that help, Nilamaniko?
Yes. The first point I understood very clearly, to distinguish between us as living entities and the Supreme in terms of us being dependent even though we have some small level of independence, whereas the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Swarata, totally independent. He is just himself. The second point, now if you could just repeat again.
The second point is coming from the first point, it follows it that we must understand that we are under control and dependent completely on Krishna. If we don't understand this, then we don't understand Krishna's position. And we cannot re-establish our relationship with Krishna properly. And re-establishing that relationship properly is necessary to understand Krishna's pastimes in the 10th canto. Thus, in a few lines, a summary what Srila Prabhupada makes very clear in this purport of text, then that because those who do not understand that are mudas, that foolish. So we must give up our foolishness and understand Krishna's position. Yeah. So that's the.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. Yes. Someone has some questions further. So.
Yes, Maharaj.
Advaita Chandra, I think. So.
Sorry, I can change. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just ask you. Well, trying to understand the interdependency of Adideva, Adhyatma, and Adibhuta. Because the controlling deities, the Adideva, they actually interject between the order of the Supreme Lord and make it happen. Then we have our own, as Adhyatma, the soul, it has its own desires and aspirations, and the Adideva is actually the one that will sort of supply the facilities, the actions. So would that mean that the Paramatma within the heart of the controlling deities would be different than the Paramatma and than the Paramatma we have, because their scope of function of functionality in the material world is different?
No, but there is a difference, because the demigods, they're in the mode of goodness. What is said in Bhagavad Gita in 6.7, that Shitatmana prasantasma paramatma samaita, one who has conquered the mind and is in peaceful, which is in the mode of goodness, he comes in contact with the super soul. So they are following the directions of the super soul. That they are following the directions of the super soul. They are his instrument. Although they may not be pure devotees, because they are Sakha and Bhaktas also. But yes, the super soul gives them also the empowerment and the introspection they need for their service. And they do that. Of course, these demigods are very powerful because they have also their energies. They are also present in their energies. But they are not overwhelming as Krishna, but they are present in also in all the energies they conduct. So they are very powerful. But yes, that's an important point. The living entity, the super soul, comes with living entity to this material world, and is also in the heart of the demigod. And Krishna also reciprocates with them, but on a subtle platform. Because we are on the gross platform, and these functioning deities are controlling this gross blood form, because the subtle controls the gross. Should never forget that. With the mind we have, the mind is subtle, we should control our senses. So yes, the functioning deity, Adideva, but is directed by the Lord, the demigods, to give us what we deserve. That because the super soul directs them some way or another. How he does it, it's up to us, to him. But yes, he directs them. He directs them to give the living entity the happiness and distress they deserve in this life. So they are instruments in the Lord, and therefore they are important managers in the cosmic household. But what we learn today is that they are also dependent on the supreme Asraya. They may be very powerful, but we take shelter of Krishna, because he controls also the demigods. But it's good to have that right understanding, because we see when you come in the 10th canto, you see you see that in Vrindavan they are also worshipping the sun god, the gopis, and they're worshipping Katyayani, but it's all for the pleasure of Krishna. It's all the right understanding of the Asraya. So because it's for the pleasure of Krishna. And that's what we need to learn in this section here today. Does that help to clarify that, Veta-Prabhu?
Yeah, just another. So does that also mean that their kshetra, their field of activities, is not limited to their body? They have enlarged field of activity beyond their subtle and gross bodies, even though they are living entities?
Like I said, their power is limited to the energies they are assigned to and they are controlling. Varun controls water, and it's limited to that. It's limited to that. That's all.
Okay.
But it's very powerful, because water is everywhere. So therefore it is said, you cannot hide anything for the demigods. They know everything about you, because water is everywhere, air is everywhere. So that's, they are observing us also. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Anything else? Mother Ekanta, please.
Hare Krishna. I have, I think, two questions at least. One is about Virat Rupa, particularly the 17th verse. You know, I still can't understand what it is, the Virat Rupa. Here it will be described that this Virat Purusha wanted to move, and the hand appeared, and legs appeared, and so on and so forth. But I can't understand, is it the real being, Virat Purusha, who was developing step by step, or is this something theoretical?
That was explained in the first chapter of the second canto. It's an imaginary form that to make us understand, to make to make those who are impersonal and cannot accept God as supreme, as a supreme being, they can accept the cosmos, and in that time, in that way, meditate on the Supreme Lord. But it's a temporary manifestation, it's imaginary. But it's for our understanding. that how Krishna controls everything. That like we have a body, the whole cosmic manifestation is Krishna's body. That is external energy, and it's for our understanding that, and also the study of this Virat Rupa, although imaginary, the control beyond it is real. He controls all the energies as described in this Virat Rupa. It makes sense. In the super soul, it's explained in Bhagavad Gita, all has unlimited senses everywhere. So these are the senses of the super soul, but he himself has no senses. It's because he's transcendental. So that's not easy to understand. But this super soul, the Lord is not impersonal or without desire, since it's all pervading in this universe. Nothing happens without his sanction, without his. So everything is under control by the Supreme Lord, and he's a transcendental person. But the Virat Rupa is an imaginary, temporary material form, which helps us to visualize this, and which helps the impersonalist to meditate on a person. And by that they become purified by doing that. And because in the beginning of the second canto, Sukadeva Goswami is concerned with not only with those who are on the way to become devotees, but also to those who do not accept God. He wants them to accept, he wants them to become purified. If they become purified, they will then be able to understand. And for their sake of purification, you have this Virat Rupa, that they can meditate on it. But this Virat Rupa, universal form, if Krishna wants, he can give you divine eyes and you can see them. But they are transcendental eyes. That we see that in the 11th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, he could see them because Krishna gave him the eyes to see that. He saw the reality of that Krishna was controlling all the senses, how he was arranges that everyone dies, and now he arranged that Duryodhana and so on would die, and so that he's under control of everything. That's the universe's form. That's what I've understood hearing this philosophy again and again and again. Srila Prabhupada said it is imaginary because it's temporary. It's a temporary manifestation, but it's illusory at the same time. So that's beyond mundane logic, so that we have also to understand. And does that help? What I come?
Thank you very much. So can we say that actually in these verses what is described, that the energy of hunger and thirst appeared and then mouths were generated, not in the particular Virat Rupa, but as the energy, as the potency of mouth was developed.
Yeah, that's it. It's an image that makes us understand that. Understand that if Krishna is omnipotent, if we can show that with given divine eyes, you will see it also, although it is temporary and imaginary. But that's anyway. It's Krishna and Sukadeva Goswami trying us to help to understand how Krishna controls everything.
Thank you. And can I ask the second question?
Yeah, sure.
It's on the verse 13, and it's about Vyashti in the purport.
Yeah.
I have a question about Adhyatmic individuals. Prabhupada writes that he further expands himself into individuals in 3 dimensions, namely Adhyatmic, Adhyadavic, and Adhibautic. And I wonder that Adhyatmic is the soul, right? It's Jiva, and actually it's never created. So what was, we are eternal Jivas. So what is described here? How he expands himself into Jivas? Or is this...
So this Adhyatmic means the Jiva. The Jiva means the soul in this material world, which is conditioned, which says false ego. So I would say there are different things here. There's a soul and you have the false ego that it has acquired. False ego is a product of the material nature. So it's a combination of both. At least there may also other elements. But that's the Adhyatmic, the soul under the spell of false ego, who thinks himself the enjoyer. Does that clarify, Mother Kanta?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, okay. Now, Nilamani Prabhu, please.
Yes, Maharaj. Just further questions on the Adhyatmic, Adhibautic, and Adhidevic. So, is it correct to say that the Virat Roop is the source of all of these three? That's the relationship between the Virat Roop and these three Purushas?
And this Adhyatmic, Adhidevic, and Adhibautic. Yes.
The Virat Roop is the source, the origin.
Well, the Virat Roop, if it's understood in terms of this Samasti and Samasti, yes. In that term, it's part of, all energy of the Supreme Lord and part of the total energy, spiritual or material, it doesn't matter. They're all as a spirit soul, they are also the energy of the Lord, internal energy. So if Virat Roop is understood as Samasti or Samasti, yes, but usually the Virat Roop is the material manifestation. So then there is a problem with what you propose. If it's a material manifestation, then yes, the Adhibautic, but the Adhidevic and Adhyatmic are combinations of, these are living entities, spirit souls. The Adhidevic has the controlling material power, and the Adhyatmic is the controlled. But they are also spirit souls. And the spirit soul does not come from the Virat Rupa. It's a part of Krishna. But it is part of the total energy. That the Samasti. Even the Samasti, because we are also one of the multi-energies. So it's a little more complex. It depends from which angle you look at it. Does that clarify?
So, to summarize, the relationship between Virat Roop and these persons is, in one sense, it is the source and origin, but in another sense, it is also, how would you say, a spiritual, like equivalence almost, equivalence. They are both energies. The Virat Roop is an energy of the Supreme Lord, and the Adhyatmic and Adidevic are also energies of the Supreme Lord.
Yeah, the Virat Rupa is the Lord's material manifestation. And it's a source of the Atma acquiring false ego. Well, the source is our desire, but we come in contact with material nature, and the material nature is part of the Virat Rupa. Otherwise, it would be Atma. It would not be Adhyatmic. And Adidevic, the same thing. The demigods are spirit souls, but they have also false ego and goodness, and they have the controlling function. That, yes. So the Virat Roop makes it possible to have this Adhyatmic, Adidevic, Adibaudic, but it's not the source of the soul.
Okay.
That's the point.
It's the source of the conditioning of the soul, in one sense.
Yes.
Right?
Well, the source of the conditioned soul also not. Because the source of the conditioning of the spirit soul is the desire of the living entity. That's the real cause. The fault lies with us. We desired. And the Virat Rupa and the material energy reciprocates with our desire. So the Lord is never the cause of our conditions. That we are the cause by our desire. But Krishna has created a system. If you have material desires, you come under the influence of material nature. Natate kaichit paptam nacheva supritam vibhu. That's in the Bhagavad Gita, 5th chapter. I'm not responsible for the pious and impious activities of the living entity. They desire it. But I created a system. And that if you have material consciousness, false ego, then you are responsible for your actions and you get karma. And all the demigods help with that, to realize that they are the system Krishna put in place. Does that help?
Yes, thank you, Lord. I will think about that some more. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Mother Lila Madhuri, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, my doubt is, as far as my understanding is, the Lord will not interfere in our independence.
Right? That's true.
But today in the class I heard that even that independence is depending on the Lord. So can you please help me to understand better?
Yes. If you have an animal body, then what independence do you have? You cannot understand Krishna. No? It's not possible in animal form. So Krishna must give us the independence, and that independence we can fully exhibit in the human form of life. In that form, Krishna gives us this independence, that it gives also the responsibility with it. Yes. That in that sense, we are depending on Krishna giving it to us. We are lucky to have the human form of life. In that form, we have independence. But as an animal, you have not. You cannot go back to God. There were exceptions of mercy given by Lord Chaitanya. But yeah, we don't have. That's mercy you receive. But we have independence. We can decide to remain in this world and try to enjoy the body, or we can decide to worship Krishna and go back to the spiritual world. And that's an independence that's given to us in this human form of life. Krishna gave it to us. So does that help?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you.
Thank you. So Advaita Krishna Prabhu, please.
Yes, Maharaj. I'm just trying to understand a little bit better. So if we say that the Adhyatmic person is a jiva with its false ego that identify as the body, and therefore it projects its desires, which then, if needs to be satisfied, is done by the agency of the devatas, which are the Adideva. And then he tries to, in an illusory way, enjoy those desires with his body, which is Adibhuta. Is this a proper statement, Maharaj?
That I would say, the jiva acquires false ego because of desires. This desire comes first, and
Right.
false ego is developed. Like in the beginning of the creation, now Vishnu injects the total, the living entities into the Mahatattva, and it starts to move. It starts to move because of the desires of the living entity. It's desire that moves everything. With desire. So Srila Prabhupada said material desire is a subtle form of conditioning. So that's the cause of our conditioning. And this conditioning is only facilitated by the demigods, by the Adidevic and the Adibhautic. To fulfill these desires, we need a material body.
Okay.
Therefore, material nature gives us a material body, which is controlled by the Adidevic. We are not in control anymore. We get just the reactions of our activities, and we are responsible. So that is the situation. Yeah.
Okay. So therefore, as an individual, jiva, with its false ego and its conditioning and the material body, it seems like it has two persons. It has the Adhyatmic person with its desires and the Adibhautic, which is a material body. Is it a proper statement?
No, the Adhyatmic person identifies with the body, especially with the subtle body.
Okay.
It's the mind and the intelligence, because then the material desires, they arise also from the mind. And it's the living entity who identifies with these material desires. Material nature will produce so many, make so many proposals and desires. And it comes further entangled because we are identifying with these desires which come into the mind.
Yes.
There are 5 factors of action, and one of the 5 is the sesta, the endeavors, the desires that arise in the mind of the subtle body. The foolish Atma, the foolish soul, identifies with them, think that will give me pleasure. So it's not just that desire only comes from the soul, but if we desire to serve Krishna, then we can use these energies in Krishna's service. Even the desires that pop up and are proposed by material nature, which we want to fulfill, we can use them in Krishna's service to the extent that they are useful. And that's the process of coming to real renunciation, as this kind of was found. It's important.
Yeah.
We get this point right. Yeah. Yes.
I was trying to relate to the example you gave the other day about, someone having a desire and the Paramatma, he feels the desire and then he makes a call to the Devatas and then the devatas have a meeting, and then they call back, and then they say, okay, let him move his hand.
Yeah.
So the hand or the body that moves, or the stomach that digests, or the mouth that eats.
Yeah.
That's my question. Is that the Adibhuta? That's my question.
That is, yes, that is Adibhuta,
Oh,
which is under control by the Adi-Devik,
yes, that I understand.
and,
Yes.
and which is accepted by the Adhyatma as a real experience, which is false. So it's
Yes,
always you cannot disconnect these three. They are always interdependent. That's important to understand.
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I do understand that, but I was just trying to interrelate the Adibhuta in there, which generally we feels like it is just an outside material factor, but it is also the
Yeah.
body.
It's a body,
And
it's
if
the
we-
external energy.
If we have a certain desire, then next life, the devatas and Paramatma will organize another Adibhuta situation for us,
Yeah,
another body. Yeah,
Adibhuta
Right.
is technically the body that depends on grains and food.
okay.
And that, yeah. That's given to us by material nature and is under control of these demigods.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Grateful to you.
Thanks. Something else? Good, then, because in 10 minutes I have to leave for the airport. I'm flying 2 hours flight to 2 hours flight to Halifax. And then we meet tomorrow morning in another time zone to discuss the next section of this 10th chapter, verses 19 till 26. Read them ahead. It's good to read them a few times. Anyway, we will also read most of the purports because it's essential knowledge, it's deep knowledge. I'm very pleased with your questions. We must ask questions, and that helps us, these discussions, to get a deeper understanding. Thank you. See you tomorrow. Jai Prabhupada.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.